Hello everyone, this is Sean, and this is the intro for part 2 of the 97 Herbie. I'm going to focus on detail painting and repriming the parts in the car that didn't take to the Rust-Oleum paint or the Dupli-color paint that I was using. You'll see that in part A. But as you can see, some parts took well, even to the detail painting. That was the folk art black, actually. And don't worry about any paint marks on either side, because they'll be covered up by the parts that attach to them. So anyway, I will show you in more detail what I've done and what I'm going to work on next. So talk to y'all later. Hello everyone, this is Sean, and this is part 2A of the 1997 Herbie Build. I'm taking a second run at spray painting the interior parts that need the kind of off-white color. I have chosen the Dupli-color Wimbledon White that I found at Canadian Tire. So I will come back once I've spray painted and we'll see if this does better. I'm doing the experimenting of the colors and the paint brands on the interior parts instead of the exterior body, because no, the exterior body worked, and if something goes wrong, I don't want the exterior body to be messed up. So I'll be back. Now, as you can see, it may have worked a little better, but it is still very splotchy. And I realize that I'm going to have to do another coat of primer on these parts before I try to apply the paint color again. So I will come back when I've tried that, and we'll see if we can get somewhere. It's weird that the first coat of Tamiya didn't work. They've always worked in the past. But maybe these parts are just a bit different, or maybe Polar Lights kits are not as good as Revell kits. Anyway, I've done some more detail painting on some small engine parts, so I'll focus on the chassis, which I didn't paint. I didn't have to, it's already black. And the interior parts I am detail painting for assembly to that. So that's probably going to be the main focus of part 2, because part 3 isn't, well, part 2A, because part 2B is going to have to do the spray painting repair. So I'll be back when I've done that. Talk to you later, and see you later. Hi, it's Sean. I'm back again. I'm continuing with the part 2A, which will begin some small assembly. But first, I want to take a good look at the parts of the car that I did with the Dupli-color paint, which were only the interior parts. And as you can see here, trying to get it so you don't have a shadow. Still didn't get good coverage, but at least the paint doesn't appear to be running this time. How can the paint run? It doesn't have legs. Ha ha. Yes, I like to make puns. But what I am going to do, once these are dry, I'm going to separate out the parts into their different numbers, labeling the back of them with Sharpie, because on the back it's black. Try to attach them to the various turntables and grippers that I have, and then paint the parts that way. With the seats, it'll be a lot easier to get the seats into a completely vertical position so that I can paint each of the two surfaces, both the seat and the seat cushion itself. And that'll be my plan for those pieces, and I will paint them with the give them another coat of the primer, the Tamiya white surface primer here. Yeah, so that's all for the big parts. The body of Herbie himself is ready for TS45, which is the pearl white, because after all, L87 pearl was Herbie's body color. And so is the hood and the trunk lid. I don't think I will do the steering wheel right now. Well, maybe I will. But as far as that goes, that's the plan for those big parts, and I will show you what I got done so far on the small parts. Be right back. Okay, so I'm back. Here are the small parts, and hopefully I'm not in the shadow. So what I did is each part that I have detail painted, pointing device, as you can see here, I have labeled with the part number on the other side of the sprue tree. Make sure I'm in camera range. Here we go. Alright, so for instance, you can see how I labeled the two hoses, 50 and 49. Of course, the true part numbers are on this side. I highlighted them in gold Sharpie. And I made sure that I painted all the parts on both sides. The foot pedal cluster, the emergency brake, even the, I guess it's the carburetor. So it's finally, I got the brass on there. You can, there you go. You can see it, part 48. Leaving these parts silver, of course. Now, the next step, let's see what the next step is. It says the cylinders, right? Left and right cylinder halves. Now, if I look at the Herbie guide, because I've kept the Polar Lights Herbie guide handy, because it has much better instructions. Aluminum cylinders. Alright, so aluminum cylinders, it says, and that is 41 and 42, 40 and 39, aluminum. So I believe there's the tester's aluminum there. So I'm going to paint those parts to match 43 and 44, which is apparently the crankcase. You can see it here. And we'll be going from there. Transmission. Yeah, apparently the transmission needs aluminum too. I'll have to take a good look at that, which part that is. I have a full parts legend now, as you can see, for every step, but I also noticed you do step 5, attaching everything to the chassis itself, before you do step 2. You see how step 2 has this bottom surface here and everything's supposed to attach to? You can also see it in step 3 with the hoses attached. Well, that bottom surface comes from step 5. Now this is seeing the chassis from underneath, but once you put these pieces in there, then you have the proper surface. Because you can see the 2 tailpipes even. You can even see the 2 tailpipes sticking out of the car from behind, even in step 2. Look at that. And see this round thing that almost looks like a wheel cover or something? Well, you can see that right here in the rear suspension. See that hole? I bet that's a hole that allows you to put the axle through. Alright, so I'm going to continue. I'm going to paint the remaining engine parts their proper color. Let's see, 40 and 42, good. So I'm going to write with the ultrafine Sharpie on the parts that I'm going to paint next, paint them up, and we'll take a look at the results, and that should be all for now because I don't want to do any assembly before the paint dries. So I'll be back. Yeah, I just noticed something. If you look, you can see some lines on this. There you go, see? Now I happen to have some Tamiya panel line accent, which will be perfect for those lines once the aluminum base coat is dry. So I'll try that, probably tomorrow. Alright, I'm back. You can see how I've carefully marked the paint guide, but I made sure to put purple around the parts. I will only put blue on the parts themselves when they've been assembled. And that way you can see all the connection points. Now, part 45, rear engine cover. Part 46 is the fan belt. So that's neat. You actually end up doing step 4 before step 5. That's good. That's a nice order. But then you have to go all the way back to step 2. Huh. Now, of course, you can see how there are some steps in step 1, but those upper steps are going to have to wait until those big parts get painted properly. So in the meantime, I'm just going to focus on the other parts. Be perfect. And then once you have attached, you don't actually attach the car to itself, but you can see how I was right about that part being the hole for the axle. Yeah, look, you don't even attach the doors until near a final step. And of course, I'm not doing mine as Coca-Cola. It's going to be as Herbie, so it's going to have the decals and everything. But it's good that they have you attach all the parts to the body before it is attached to the car. That allows you to get at the parts, the small parts, the headlights, the bumpers, from the inside first with the model glue to make sure they're all secure. That's great. And of course, I will always have the Herbie guide close at hand, you know, to help me with sticker placement and so forth. That's great. And look at how much more detailed it is. Look at how Herbie is said to have those seats. So in step number 3, that helps me narrow down which seats it gets, the lower seats and their seat backs. That's perfect. So that is all for part 2A. I'll film part 2B when I've done more work to justify it. I did the chrome gear shift, part 59. Oh, no, wait, is that part 59? Yes, it must be part 59. Yeah, chrome gear shift. Let me just check the part numbers here. Oh yes, part 59. Good. And the foot pedals and the... all right, I'm going to work on the guide a bit, but you see... Oh, careful. That was sitting on it. But I have the Tamiya panel line accent, the gray. Seem to have misplaced my light gray, but anyway, that's there. And put the scissors in front of the part so that I don't accidentally set anything on it again. Here we are. Okay. So that's all for now. That's all for part 2A, and I will see you here next time. And what I'll do is all the parts that I film this week, because I'm all caught up in my videos, I will piece together and upload on Thursday night. Yeah, I'll do that. And then maybe next week, if I don't end up filming anything, I will upload the Space Shuttle slideshow. That's what I'll do on the weeks when I don't do any model building. I will fill it in with Space Shuttle. You can see the Space Shuttle here. The Columbia Space Shuttle. So I deliberately made it early flight Columbia because I put the name on the doors so that when they fold down you can't see them. And I even used the shuttle guides I have to make the markings like they were in the second flight. I deliberately made it the second flight, and you can see the other parts here and the Canadarm. If you look very closely, use my finger as a guide. There you go, see, you can see Canada on it, even the red flag for the D. I had to make sure to do that. So that is a preview of the next model build slideshow from one of my older model builds. It's now like 3 years in the past. So I'll see you here next time for the next video. That'll be part 2B. What I will do is I will splice out this preview of the Space Shuttle model kit guide. I mean the Space Shuttle slideshow. I'll make that the preview for that video. So talk to you all later and see you here next time. Bye-bye. Hello everyone, it's Sean. This is Tuesday, and I have cut out all the parts that I'm going to be spray painting today. And of course, I'm going to attach all the tape to the bottom of each part so that I can secure them to the box I'm going to use for the spray painting. So I will do that, and I'll go spray paint with the white primer this time. I realized I used the gray primer last time on the inside of the car, but I used the white primer on the outside of the car, and you can see how well that turned out. So I'll be back with that, and we'll see how it goes, and talk to you later. Bye-bye. Alright, thank you for waiting. I'm back again. Well, it appears the white primer was the good part, and the seats mostly stayed upright, at least in the area I sprayed them. So I think after this fresh coat of white primer, which seemed to cover everything, I'll get down for a closer look, but it sure looks like it got everything smoothly. I would give the parts the pearl white, maybe in a day or two. And the other seat is in the far corner of the box. It's the only way I could get it to stay upright. So, of course, the two seats and the back seat are going to have to switch positions, maybe tomorrow, and be the only parts I do that spray painting on. As far as the rest of the car, which you can see here, I'm going to start assembly. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start assembling the car, but at least its engine parts. That's step 4. So I will try that, just that part, and I'll be back once I've done that. I've seen you in a few minutes. Alright, as you can see, I have the two engine halves, which are 43 and 44, and I have the small pieces, 41, 42, 39, and 40. So I will assemble those pieces together, and we'll see how we're doing here. Now keep that post intact, because that's a post that attaches to something else later on. So I'll be back once the assembly is done. Alright, so as you can see, the two engine halves are assembled. I did not have to use the clothespins for that, but I did for the other two things that go on the side. So I just clamped them from the front because that seemed the best way to get them to stay together. Now, if you look carefully at step 4, you will see, you see that fan belt assembly or whatever it is, part 45? Okay, rear engine cover, part 46 is a fan belt. Well, you see how they're not in the picture of step 5? So I don't have to assemble them immediately. I probably wait until they're actually inserted in the chassis. And while we're on the subject, I'm going to test that part of the chassis, which is this, here you go. And then you have the engine, and you have its slot. So let's just see here if we have a success. Oh, there we go. That's a good fit test of everything. That's a good picture too. There we go. Of course, that's just a fit test. I can easily take it out so I can assemble the side parts. But at least we know it works. The holes and the pegs are the proper size. So that's all for today. It's Tuesday, by the way. Oh, sorry, this is Monday. Monday the 4th. We didn't have July 4th off. We're here in Canada. So this is not a short week for us like it would be for anyone who's watching from America. But there is one more thing, which I'm going to have to wait on because it looks like this has gotten a bit twisted. 1 second. Ah, there we go. Yes, I'm going to wait until the glue has sealed before I try the panel line accent regular brown, because the gray did not show up at all. So I'll wait until all the parts are sealed properly to try that. So that's about all for today. There's nothing else I can really do on Herbie now. I've identified the proper seats anyway. These seats. Alright, so that is it for today, and I will be back probably tomorrow to do some more, like maybe continue with the engine assembly and everything, and try assembling some of these pieces to the bottom of the chassis. So I'll see you all tomorrow, and have a good day. Bye-bye. Hello everyone, it's Sean. I'm back again. This is Tuesday, and I am trying to put the two side pieces on the engine. Side pieces that you can see here, 41 and 39. Now, if you're looking at the engine from the bottom, okay, then part 39 went on well. As you can see, it's aligned nicely front to back, right? The only problem is the tabs are a little short, but that's where this surface will work. But when I tried to put part 41 on, these holes are too far over. Like, look, I'll show you. You try to put this in the holes. It's way too far over compared to the other piece, see? It wants to be more centered, like that. Well, that means I have to, what I have to do is actually drill out some of the holes to make new ones for where it actually should be aligned. Thankfully, I have all my little drill bits here. So I'll try doing some drilling, and I'll be back. I tried drilling new hole, and that won't work because I just can't get a good friction on the part. So what I had to do was trim those pieces off the end, and then I will just try get something for it to hang off of course. 1 minute. All right, there we go. So I have a box for it to hang off of, so I'm going to attach the part right side up, of course. So there we go. Attach it there, away from its area. And then try to prop it up kind of like that against the corner of the piece. And that's about all I can do for now. Well, there is more I can do. I mean, I marked the guide for step 4, but you see parts 45 and 46. Well, I have them right here, 45, 46. So what I'll do is I'll cut them out, see if I can at least attach them to each other, then we'll go from there. I'll be right back with that. Now I just noticed I haven't painted part 45 and 46 yet, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue them together and then paint them. That way you don't get glue in the painting surface. And the reverse is also true. You don't get paint in the gluing surface, which could interfere with the glue bond. Alright, so you can see the two parts attached to each other here. Here you are. So what I'll probably do is paint the belt black, and the rest of the parts a nice combination of aluminum and brass. So we'll see how we do here. Good, I got the brass open anyway. So I might as well paint something on these parts. I mean, there's no real paint guide, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to make it up as I go along. So let's see here. I'm going to make these little parts here brass, if I can. I'm going to see if the paint sticks. Ah, there we go. There we are. There we go. Good. There. Yeah. Both sides, of course. Good. Anything else? Not in there, no. I think the rest will be silver except for the, or aluminum. In fact, I'll probably use the aluminum. So I'll come back. I'll use the aluminum on the main surfaces and the black inside on the belt itself, and I'll be back with that result. And that should be the end of part 2C. Okay, so that's there it is, all painted. You can see it there. In fact, I think I can zoom in even from within the video. There you go, see? So I did black around the belt. I did brass on that part there. And I did aluminum on the rest. So that'll be all for tonight's installment. The detail painting and beginning of assembly. I'll leave the main engine propped as it is and hope the part holds. I mean, liquid cement is good because it melds the joining surfaces together. And I will wait until tomorrow night when it's all sealed to attach this part to the back of the engine as per the diagram in step 4. Even though it doesn't have an attachment, it actually shows it there. You can see the fan belt poking up from the back of the engine just a bit. And there should be 2 holes on the engine itself it'll fit in. So tomorrow, I'm going to start, I'll try working on step 5 once I finish step 4. And tomorrow, I hope, 2A, I'm going to test the pearl white on all these parts. You can see how I propped the seats up already. But you can see after a day how well the white primer took to it. So that's perfect. And if it's a successful test with the white pearl, I will put it on the main body of Herbie, the doors and everything else. But I must not forget that the doors want to get a light gray. Now, because the roof is lighter gray than normal, instead of doing haze gray for the inner doors, I might actually use the AS26 light ghost gray, which is the first time I've used an aircraft color on the car. So, talk to you all tomorrow or Thursday, depending on when I do another installment on this channel, and I'll post it on Thursday night. See you then. Bye-bye. Hello, it's Sean. I'm back. This is just a bit of last-minute footage for part 2C. As you can see, jokes. I have assembled the fan belt assembly to the back of the engine. I have done my best to do the brass there. I'll touch it up tomorrow. And it went right in the proper slot. It didn't need any, what would you call it? Glue to help it out. Now what I'm doing with the 2 parts of the engine, you can see here how the bottom part of the left one near my thumb, it probably should have been moved much further in, like the one on the right. But we'll see how well this all works when I go to put the tailpipes in, because for all I know, I will end up having to do more drilling, because take a look at this for a minute. You see the bottom part? See how it forms a nice L shape, but the hole is right at the top edge? Well, look at the other piece. That's nowhere near the top edge. So we're just going to see what kind of adjusting with my little hand drills I'm going to have to do to get this to work. But I'm glad I got it in there at all. So that's all for today. I'm going to leave that black fingerprint there, because it'll look like engine grease. It'll look more realistic. You don't want this to look like a pristine engine. So that's all for today. This is part 2C, section 2. I'll splice it together with the rest of 2C. So I will see. Yes, I said that multiple times. I know. Talk to you when I film part 2D. Good night. And that's going to do it for this week on the 1997 Herbie Build. I assembled the engine to the chassis yesterday, and I've touched up the brass here. So the next steps on the instructions will be to attach the muffler and the transmission, but I'll do that next week. I have the one moment. I have the Herbie instructions to help me out with that. You can see here how the tailpipe, and that's the proper Herbie tailpipe, which is actually this one right here. It's all chrome, you see. Now, if those pegs, there you can see those pegs there, if they're slightly misaligned, that's no problem, because you see how flat that part is. I can just cut those pegs off and assemble everything that way. Oh, and there is one more thing I did today. I sprayed the pearl white on all the parts. Now you'll see how the parts that had the vintage white, well, I'm going to take a look here. We're going to see if it toned it down a bit. It really didn't change the color that much between Herbie's body, which doesn't have any vintage pearl on it yet, and the parts themselves. But I also spray painted the seats. Oh, set it up right a bit so it actually dries properly. It feels dry to the touch already, but I'm going to leave it like this for tonight. There we go. See? All the seats are propped up in the corners of the box. And the dashboard. Now, that's interesting. Thanks to the white primer, the interior parts are much more white than they were before. Now, I'm going to have to take a good close look. Is the roof, that roof piece of Herbie, is that going to have to be a different color than the body? Am I going to have to go over it with white primer after all? I might. I'll have to check the reference pictures on that. But thankfully oh, and there is one more piece, the doors. But I already have the aircraft gray. I told you that last night. So there's a few body pieces to paint, and that's pretty well it, because there were no more color guides or call-outs, so I could start assembling some of this stuff into the interior bucket now that it's drying. I could install the seats and everything else. But it's nice, I'm finally getting into the chrome tree. You can see the proper bumpers for Herbie here. And the mirrors and hubcaps and everything. There's so many different hubcaps, it's crazy. But that's all for now. And I will be back next week. Now let's see, next week is the week before the Hobby Club meeting. So that's what I'll be preparing for. And I think I'm going to bring the Star Destroyer to that meeting. Because the last time the Hobby Club people saw the Star Destroyer, did not yet have the pearlescent coat on it. So I'll bring that to the meeting. And with any luck, I'll have Herbie at the assembly stage too. So I'll talk to you all later. And have a good weekend. Bye-bye.